Welcome to the Shine and Grind Show. With your host, Angeline Lawrence, we share information to help you glorify God while getting things done in the marketplace.
Hello, and thank you again for joining me on the Shine and Grind Show. My special guest is Nichelle McCall. She is the founder and CEO of Bold Guidance. It is a software platform that helps students aspiring to go to college understand the process and track key milestones. It is integrated to help students, parents, and counselors. She has been recognized by Fortune, as well as South by Southwest for her work with her platform. Other organizations she's had the pleasure of working with is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as well as the Cleveland Foundation. And most recently, Nichelle has been key in helping non-technical entrepreneurs gain venture capital for their startups. And with that, we just want to welcome Nichelle to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
We're glad that you're here, and we are really excited to understand and to hear your story. So we wanted to know, how did you garner the courage to launch a software company without really having a technical background?
Yeah, it's a great question. And funny enough, I think I didn't think about it too much. Had I done so, I probably would have been scared off. So for me, it was just really a matter of I saw a problem, I saw an issue as it related to students and their families being able to navigate the college application process, especially as a first-generation student. It was just really overwhelming and stressful, and if you don't have someone in your life who can really guide you through that process, it can be very difficult, especially because the average student to high school counselor ratio is 470 to 1. So
Oh, wow.
you just really can't get that individual attention. So it was a matter of, through my previous consulting practice where I was developing college access programs for people, I realized that there was a problem and started talking to students and parents and counselors about this issue and what were their problems. And part of it was managing it, keeping up with deadlines, organizing the process. And so then started working with them and figuring out solutions of what it could look like to leverage technology. But
Wow.
ultimately,
So what is... I'm
no,
sorry, go ahead.
So I was just saying, through my consulting practice, I just realized that if I really wanted to help more people, I couldn't scale myself, but I could scale technology. So it was a matter of then just figuring out how to leverage it.
And that's key when you said you weren't really able to scale yourself, because we know that we're learning that the real wealth and the impact that we have is when we can create scalable businesses. And so in doing that, what was one of the key, what do you believe one of the key mistakes that some startups make when they're creating their app or their product?
I think one key mistake is assuming that we know what people need and moving forward with it before we get validation. And so what I mean with that is, for instance, I could have said, people need help with the college application process and just went and, found a developer, spent money on building it out, and then gave it to people to see, if they build it, they will come. But they may have said, we didn't even need any of these features. We needed this. And then you spent all this time and money on building something that your customers haven't said that they want it just yet, which also means ultimately that they're not going to fully be willing to pay for it. So it's really important to do some research beforehand, talking to your customers closely and figuring out what are their main issues, talking to people and testing out the potential solution. And once you get a significant number of people who are all saying something that's pretty similar, that's when you really take action and get things started.
Yes, and for many people that aren't familiar with the Lean Startup book and methodology, validation is one of the first key things. So, and even developing what they call a minimum viable product. So,
Mhm.
have you had many iterations of your Bold Guidance app, or did you, once you validated, were you able to get it right the first time?
Oh yes, iteration. So no, we're constantly pivoting and changing based off of the marketplace, and there's nothing wrong with that too. I think that that's something we have to be comfortable with, and knowing that your idea shifting is okay, because what it means is that it's getting closer and closer to what it is that the marketplace is asking for. And so, and I think also your customers will appreciate the fact that you really are listening to their needs. So, so we are constantly iterating and changing, and we're actually even at a point now where we're preparing to launch a new product geared toward colleges and helping to increase college enrollment through value-based admissions. And
Awesome.
so what that is leveraging the values and experience of your current student body to market and appeal to your prospective students.
That's wonderful. That'll be groundbreaking. Do you know of any other companies that are kind of similar to what you're doing?
Not exactly in the way that we're doing it, as it relates to the current Bold Guidance platform and helping through college applications. We're really the only platform that provides it across all devices, mobile, tablets, phone, that automates the process of completing specific college applications. Everyone else makes it pretty general. As it relates to our new product offering with the value-based admissions, we're really not just simply helping people through attracting students to a college, but we're actually working with converting admitted students into enrolled students and using and leveraging the experience of your current student body to do so in a scalable way. And that's something that's pretty new and groundbreaking.
Yes, that's awesome. So what is one of the key things that you learned in terms of not having a technical background? How did you get your team members to help you with the technical piece? Or were there any tools or resources that you used to kind of develop your program?
Yeah, so for me, I first started off with just creating a basic prototype or wireframe, which is basically like a sketch of what my product would look like. And I used a tool called Balsamic, and that's Balsamic that ends with a Q instead of a C.
Okay.
And so that allowed me to just literally put up kind of like a cartoon-looking sketch of what the product could look like, and I start introducing that to my customers and getting their insight and feedback of what that would look like. So I was able to use a very inexpensive way of getting more insight of what the product could look like, and then from there was able to present that to developers on what it is that we needed and talk through exactly what the customer experience would be like working through it. For us, we received our initial development team through an accelerator program called Flash Starts, and they're based out of Cleveland, Ohio. And Flash Starts provided us with some initial seed funding, but in addition to that, the software development talent to build out our first beta products, our first initial minimal viable product that we can get out into the marketplace and get more feedback from our customers.
Awesome. So did you apply to that accelerator, or were you recruited, or how did that work?
I did apply, and part of that was also just through my connections and my network. Some of my advisors who've been with me for the whole time were saying that, you know what, you should really apply to this accelerator. We know that the people who are starting it, Charles Steck and Jennifer Neuendorfer, and we think you will be a really good fit. So they made the introduction. I applied, and I was accepted and started a few weeks later.
Hmm. Wow, that's awesome, and that's really life-changing. I'm sure um, it seems that the launch of your platform has just taken you into totally different directions. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you help other non-tech entrepreneurs get venture capital? Um, that seems to be something that traditionally women have not taken venture capital into their startups, as well as people of color. And for you to be in such a great position to help others, um, especially those that aren't non-technical, even some technical people of color have some difficulty in that area. So explain to us a little bit more about the culture of venture capital and how you help people kind of break into that.
Sure. Venture capital is definitely a interesting space. I was actually just down in Miami for a Black Tech Week, and we were talking about some of the stats around the fact that out of all the venture capital-backed companies in the country, only 1% are found by African Americans, and only 8% are found by women.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. A
and
lot of
that
work to be
stat is,
done.
yes, exactly. It's way too low. And so,
Hmm.
I've been blessed to be a part of that stat. And I really want to be able to also work with others and being able to navigate that scene in order to be able to access more venture capital. So a big part of what I'm doing is working with providing other entrepreneurs who are interested in starting tech companies and helping them to build the process of their company and their idea to the point of being venture capital ready. So helping them and really being able to have a strong company and concept and everything that it takes to get to that point, really understanding the market opportunity. I think sometimes we don't think as big and as large as we could. A lot of our
Hmm.
ideas can actually be multi-million, if not multi-billion-dollar ideas. So
Hmm.
really helping them to understand and get that information in place,
Hmm.
um, figuring out the financials and what it is that you need to do to present your company to a venture capital in order to really be ready, in addition to understanding what type of traction, whether it's through revenue or through customers, makes you
Hmm.
even more appealing to venture capitalists. So I really work with people in identifying how to do that. And, I've been blessed to also have had many mentors and advisors who are, have started their own companies, sold them for millions and billions, and who have worked with me. And so now it's my time to also be able to work with others.
That's phenomenal. Um, as we kind of discussed earlier, technology is one of the last spaces that our community really needs to explore more. And I understand that there are many initiatives now coming on board to really try and introduce the African American community and women to get them more involved in technology. Um, so, with someone that's just starting out, maybe they have an idea. What are some of the resources or conferences that they should really attend and check into to kind of understand this space a little better?
Yeah, so I think you definitely mentioned a good one earlier about the lean startup kind of mentality and methodology. So with that, definitely getting a couple of books around the lean startup by Eric Ries is a good one. In addition to like the startup manual by Steve Blank, I think that those are some really good good methods to be able to kind of help you in getting all of the key pieces in place for what it is that you're trying to do and understanding a little bit more about not only your idea but all of the necessary things that need to come into about your market channel and your customer relationships and things of that nature. So I would also say even leveraging the business model canvas would be very helpful, and that's something else that's done through Steve Blank and a few others. But that really helps you to get a clear understanding of all of the pieces that need to be in place and how you're going to generate revenue and what's going to be the cost of running this, and all of that is helpful information for what your business plan will eventually look like too. And it's to the point where your business plan doesn't have to be 50, 100 pages. It can literally be 10 to 20. But just really being clear about where you're going is going to make you a lot stronger of a business and a stronger candidate for venture capital.
Awesome. And if you could just explain the business canvas, it's more like a one-pager that kind of helps you kind of think, and it's more visual. Could you just give a brief background about the business canvas for those that may not be familiar?
So as you mentioned, the business model canvas is typically like a one-pager for you to really be able to get a clear understanding of how you're going to be developing your business model. So, you have your initial ideas, but part of it is that you have to figure out exactly who's your customer base. Is it, for me, maybe, okay, for instance, with my value-based admissions, I'm going specifically after, smaller private colleges. So I know that that's the specific niche that I should be looking for, and what's the value proposition that I'm bringing to those customers. Why would they absolutely love to use this, and what pain am I solving to really be able to help them? In addition to just how should I interact with my customers, around customer relationships, like what channels will I reach them? Is it supposed to be online? Is it supposed to be through certain trade shows or conferences? Key activities, so what are the things that I'll be doing in order to serve them? Key partners that I need, should I be having a relationship with someone who already is connected to them and has their trust and loyalty? Resources that you'll need to really be able to run your idea, in addition to the cost structure. So what will you need to spend money on based off of those key resources and activities? How much is that going to cost you? And then how much in your revenue stream. So how are you going to be making money? What is your revenue model? And so it's a great way of being able to piece all of those pieces together in a simple one-pager that you can then continue to build on and change as needed.
Yes, and it gives you a really good way to visualize things so that you're not so intimidated about creating this huge document.
Exactly.
Well, Nichelle, we are so thankful that you were able to join us today. And normally we always ask everyone, all of our guests, what is your mantra? What one thing do you kind of live by? What kind of guides you? So if you could just share what your mantra is with our listeners, because you accomplished so much and have such a great impact on our community.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. A big part for me is that, one, I realize that everything that I do in this company, it's not mine. I like to say, the Lord is the CEO, I'm the COO. So He's the one who's really guiding this. And it's my responsibility to trust in that and obey and to act accordingly. But even along those lines, Galatians chapter 6, verse 9 really is a really important verse for me around, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up.
Yes.
And so that's, something that I always have to remind myself, as challenging, as hard as it is to be a non-tech entrepreneur, which I highly recommend people to at least get a tech advisor, even if they don't have a tech co-founder or tech background. But, as challenging as this is, I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to continue to try to find solutions. And I know that everything always works out, and just history has shown me that in my life, that it always works out. So there's no reason why I shouldn't have faith and trust that it won't work out in the end. So, yeah, that's kind of what I live by, and just continue moving forward in that, and identifying how I can continue to be of service to others too.
Yes, thank you. I mean, that's awesome. And given that you bring other talents and gifts to the table, I wanted my listeners and others to understand you may not have gone to Harvard or MIT or gone through a tech accelerator or whatever, but if you have something that God has given you, work on it, walk in faith and bring it out, and you have embodied that. And so I really thank you again for joining us on the show.